So welcome to another RiderCamTV video, and today we're fortunate enough to take out and see what it's like for the first ride of a BMW R1200RS. And this bike has got 1 mile, just 1 mile on it. So on this 1200RS, filled to the brim because it was completely empty. It only had 1 mile on there, so filling it up for BMW. 16.26 litres. And apparently the tank is good for about 200 miles, obviously depending on how you ride it, but not bad. So, welcome to our review and first ride, including first impressions, of the BMW R1200RS. Now this is the 2017 model, and it's only just been released. So first impressions are that what a comfy bike to sit on. Really comfy. The mirrors giving me good visibility. I can see a lot of my arms, but it might be that I haven't adjusted them properly for me. But I can see everything that I need to see. The visibility around the bike, really, really good. It gives you a sense of feeling that you're on a sports bike and open to the elements. It's almost like a continuation of the 800 GT with a lot more refinements than the 800 GT, but almost like the 800 GT on steroids. Now this bike has got the Boxer engine, so we love the Boxer engine. So this bike's got 125 brake horsepower. It's also got 125 Newton meters of torque, and it sits road ready at 236 kilos, which is really quite light. The bikes I usually ride, the Adventures, that's 260 odd kilos, so it's quite a lot lighter than the Adventure. So the seating position, I am leant forward quite a bit more than I'm used to, but I feel that I've got no weight on my wrists at all, none whatsoever. It feels like it's quite a comfortable seating position. My legs, I'm about 5'10", 5'11", average height I guess, and the pegs are a little bit high for me, but that might be just because of what I'm usually used to. Like I say, there's no weight on my wrists at all, and it feels quite comfortable. And being sat in this position, I can feel that my knees are holding the tank quite naturally, rather than me having to think about it. I'm quite naturally holding onto the tank. The brake pedal and the gear lever are just in the right place for the peg position, and I don't feel that I've got to hunt around with my foot looking for the pedals to carry out the function that I need to. They're just there on hand. It's quite nimble, and probably given for the fact that it's quite a light bike, it really is quite nimble. Around corners, slow riding is really good. Just done a bit of slow riding just in traffic, and it's weighted really, really well. Now this 2017 model's got all the gizmos, all the suspension gizmos, all of the switchgear gizmos that you would expect from BMW, and as expected, those buttons and the gizmos work as they should. I keep saying it, but I think there's some magicians that work at BMW just to get things just right. The quick shift is smooth and responsive, and the clutch and the brakes, obviously this bike's only done 4 miles now, but the brakes are really, really good, and I'm mindful that because it's a brand new bike, I'm not going to use the brakes that much as I normally would. So 40 into a 60, and I'm not pressurising the bike at all. Up into 4th, at 60, put it into 5th, and then up into 6th. With the clutch or the Quick Shift Assist Pro, changing gears in this bike is buttery smooth, absolutely buttery smooth. The power delivery, all those 125 Newton meters of torque, all working with the 125 brake horsepowers to deliver that smooth, progressive feel of acceleration and power. Really, really quite impressed with that. The dials, as you can see in front of me, the dials, I'm really liking the new display on these bikes. The dial is really, really easy to read. The font that they've chosen is exceptionally clear, and the information that the bike display provides is actually really good. You've got your time, the gear that you're in, all of your odometer readings, what mode it's in, what style it's in, all of your revs, all represented in a completely different way than I'm used to on the Adventure. And I must say, I really like it. It gives me the feeling that I'm riding a premium bike and that I've got everything to hand, everything in my line of sight. And coupled with the seating position naturally pushing me forward slightly, I don't have to move my head to look at the dials, which I think is, especially this day and age, with you having to be acutely aware that there are so many people on the road, and seemingly all out to get motorbikers because none of them look for us. Apologise if you do. Sweeping statement: most people on the road don't look for motorbikers or don't see us, despite what we wear or what we have on our light systems. But it also means that I haven't got to take my eye off the road or my concentration off the road to have a quick glance down to see what speed I'm doing, what gear I'm in, or any other information that I might want. The ratio of the gears seems to be quite comfortable. So I'm doing 30 miles an hour now and I'm in second gear, and there's no hunting. It's not wanting to go faster. It's not giving me any of a bumpy ride. But as we've just seen, that power is there. So under no illusion in my head that if I needed to get out of trouble and just pull the throttle back a little bit, the power would be there, but really comfortable in-town riding. I'm liking the colour design, or the colours that these bikes come in. They come in quite a small range of colours, but I really do like the way that they've accentuated the blue, accentuated the whitey silver type look, and done it in a way that actually this bike looks more special than it is. Now, that sounds silly, but I know that if you were to own this bike, it's going to be a special bike for you. It sits at around 11,000, just over 11,000 starting price, and obviously you add your gadgets and all of your gizmos on top of that, but reasonably priced for a good bike. I get the impression that I could ride this for quite a while. The seat feels quite comfortable, although it does look a little bit uncomfortable. It looks like it's small. It looks like it's just a little bit small, and that it wouldn't be comfortable, but in actual fact, sitting on it, I think that firmness of the seat has added to it being a little bit more comfortable. I think sometimes some manufacturers or some third-party manufacturers that make seats for bikes, although they're exceptionally good, they've also got a high price tag to put on them. And perhaps you don't need that, I don't know. Slow speed maneuvering, really, really quite impressed. Does exactly what it says on the tin. Feels really, really well weighted. I don't feel that there's any bias to one side or the other. And on revving it, I don't feel that we're having any movement of the bike's balance from that beautiful boxer engine that some bikes suffered from a little bit in years gone by. Now, doing a bit of riding around town and that bit of riding on that small 60 limit, the national speed limit road, I didn't get very much buffeting to my helmet at all. And this screen is in the lower position. And the one thing that a little bit disappointing about it is that to alter the screen position, it's a manual operation. And by that I mean that there's no way to do it when you're riding unless you yank at the top, and I guess that's really not that safe to be doing. But that said, even at this low position, Certainly around town, the 30 limits that we've been in, the 40 limits, and the national speed limits up to 60, I've certainly not felt that the screen wasn't protecting my face. A bit more wind noise than I get usually on my bike, but I guess you would expect that, and it kind of, for me, couples the feeling that you are on a bike. You're on a bike, for me, that I think I could tour for quite a while on this, but it's got that sporty feeling. So I would guess that this bike appeals to not only people returning to biking after a bit of a break, certainly men and women. I think some women might like this bike, as would some men that aren't quite so tall, because the ground clearance for those people might be more acceptable or more comfortable for them. And certainly for the weight of the bike being only 236 kilos, I think it's really quite a manageable bike for the masses of people. When you start thinking about moving or maneuvering a 1200 GS that's 260 odd kilos, especially if you're loading it up and adding more weight with luggage and stuff to take away with you, it can become quite a cumbersome animal when you're trying to maneuver it if a road's closed and you're on a hill and you've got to turn around. So it could make things quite difficult. But I get the impression that this bike actually is quite maneuverable. The center of gravity seems to be quite low on this bike, and I think that aids the control of it, the seamless control. And it's so nimble. It's so nimble. You can flick it about like there's no tomorrow. And like I say, with no weight on my wrists, and that's one thing that I don't like about sports bikes, because they're not the bike for me, is that all of your weight is put on your wrists, and then you're leaning down with your weight of your body on your wrist, but then you've got a massive problem with having to keep your head up to see what's going on. Some would say I probably am getting old. I don't know, but I've always loved the look of sports bikes. But having ridden a few sports bikes, and I'm no expert by any means of riding sports bikes at all, but the very few that I have ridden, I haven't really enjoyed. The power has been amazing, but I haven't really enjoyed them because of the seating position. And for a bike, for me, I'm fortunate to be able to have a bike and a car, so I don't rely on the bike for work. However, I'd like touring on my bike, and on a sports bike, it just doesn't cut it for me. However, this bike, being sort of in between a sports bike and a touring bike, certainly with the feel of the ride, even though I am forward slightly more, and it would take me time to get used to because of the difference between my normal riding position on my bike and this one, I think once you're used to this sort of seating position, it really is quite comfortable. And I could see myself doing quite a few 100 miles on a tour, or a couple of 100 miles in a day. So just doing a couple of circuits of this car park, not only to show you the beautiful scenery we have down here in Cornwall, but also just to show you how maneuverable this bike is. Now, I know that I ride bikes, and I ride bikes quite a bit, but slow moving, I'm hardly going at a walking pace here, and not once have I had to think really about where are my hands, what am I doing, this is uncomfortable, I'm going to drop the bike. It really is so maneuverable, and I think they've really hit the nail on the head with BMW with this bike, certainly with the maneuverability. Very, very good. Now, I like that. I like the fact that there's a really good sized kickstand. Now, on some of the bikes, certainly the 800 GT, the kickstand looked like a twig. The front lights on this bike, I really like that LED strip right in the middle. That LED strip is really, really quite bright. I like the mixture of the two lights either side, and it kind of gives it a bit of a menacing look, whilst also having a bit of a pleasing look. Now, BMW, I think, have done wonders here, because usually there is a huge, great radiator grille. I like the fact that it's quite a lot higher than on normal bikes, so you might have to think about protecting the casing of the engine, the front of the engine, just with a fender extender. But other than that, I'm really quite impressed that they've done that. I like the little attention to detail that they've put here with these little guards here, or the little fin. But I think you'll agree, it's really quite a special looking bike. Now the RS comes with this rack here, and the rack is already set up for standard BMW boxes, and you can get them from, I guess, any BMW retailer. And I'm not sure whether they come in different colours, but certainly my friend has bought them and they come in sort of this colour here, which matches his colour of bike. But they're already set up so you can go touring, and they're quite big. You can get your helmet in one side of those. Also got the rack on the back, and the rack on the back will lend itself to a top box. It's got the proprietary fittings, which is really, really great. Now on the slight downside here, BMW have done it again. There is this massive void. Now if you're out on a bike in all weathers like me, you'll probably find that you get an awful lot of muck and dirt kicked up here, and there is so much space in behind there that I feel that BMW are kind of missing a little bit of a trick here. Not only do they not make and sell things like mudslings, huggers, and I know they're product names, but you get what I mean, but I think that they could either sell them or have them as an extra, because people really don't want to go out for a short ride for half an hour, get back and then have to clean and polish their bike. Lots of people do, but not everybody does, and they certainly don't want their kit muddied up with dirt and all the road grime. I'm liking the seat. The seat is really, really good. It's really low, but it's contoured, and what I like about it is where your inner thigh will sit, it falls quite neatly down there. It's not a wide seat, it's quite a narrow seat, and for me, riding this bike, enabling it to feel really, really comfortable. The speedo and dials on this machine, I think really, really look special. You've got obviously a really clear speedometer, both in miles and kilometres, and for other countries it'll be switched the other way round, I guess. You've got the time up here, you've got what gear it's in, what your odometer reading is, and you can see that we've only up to 9 miles on this bike, so it is spectacularly brand new. Your heated grip settings, you've got 2 settings again, and we have said in previous videos that it would be lovely if BMW could extend from the RT to every other range where they've got heated grips, that you can stage them rather than being either really hot or just enough. It would be nice to be able to have a mix and match. You've got your indication for your auto lights, and at the top you've got a rev counter, what mode you're in and what your suspension mode is in, and then on the right hand side you've got your fuel gauge. And unlike the GT, which I didn't like and I like on this one, is that you can see all the fuel that's in your bike. Now on this bike, this screen is adjustable. You can see by these extensions here, it is adjustable, but it's manually adjustable. So it was in the top position, so apologies for earlier in the video, I thought it was in the lower position. Now the only thing that I don't like about it is it's either the lower position or the top position, and I guess that you could do it while you're riding on the fly, but there's no adjustment in between. But there is nowhere that you can set it to sort of there, right in the middle. See how difficult it is? You can't set it to that sort of height without it flipping itself back down, which I don't think is the greatest point on the bike, and I think it lets it down a little bit. I think that there's a big market for this bike in terms of perhaps a rider that's returning to motorbiking, a rider that wants a weekend hack, or a really good bike for a weekend hack, a really good bike for commuting to and from work, for good town work, but also with the versatility that they can just jump on it and pop over to the continent and do a few days or few weeks of touring. It's got the ability to add luggage straight out of the box. Obviously there's more of a cost to that, but the ability is there. This bike gives me the feel that BMW are kind of competing in the same space as the FJR, the VFR, that sort of sport tourer market. I think there's definitely a place for this bike, and given that they've got the 800 GT, which in a previous review, and I'll put a card at the top in case you want to watch it, I think this is a vast improvement on the 800 GT, not only because it's got a far superior feeling engine, but that it's got more power. It doesn't feel such a basic bike. This bike actually makes me feel like I'm riding a premium bike, and a premium bike for a price that I would say is quite reasonable given the market today. I also think that this has got somewhere between the 800 GT and the XR. So if your budget doesn't perhaps stretch to an XR, that is an absolutely awesome bike, and I'll put a link to the review in the card above if you want to check it out. The XR is an awesome bike. The speed and smoothness is immense, and this is somewhere in between the 800 GT and that bike, and closer to the XR than the GT. So in essence, in RiderCamTV's opinion, and it's subjective of course, is that this bike is a good all-round bike. A very capable tourer, a very capable weekend hack, a very capable commuter, a really aesthetically pleasing bike that would complement any other bikes and be at home at any bike show anywhere. Certainly with the colour scheme, makes it pop and makes you feel that you've got a premium bike. I really do like that BMW have used good colours, good plastics, good materials to really give you the feeling that this bike has got the premium feel. So as always, a big shout out to Greg and the team at Ocean BMW at Falmouth for allowing RiderCamTV to take this bike out and give you an honest opinion of how we think it is. An honest review and a first ride. So if you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up, It does help us an awful lot. Like and subscribe to the video, and click the little bell and become a super subscriber so you don't miss any videos that come out. If you've got any experiences of riding the RS, then give us a comment down below. Let us know how you've got on, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.